Okay, fair warning. Fair warning. I'm gonna do it again. I know I shouldn't. I'm going to talk about politics, but don't turn off the video just yet. I swear, this is not actually as much about politics as it is about a story about a toxic workplace culture, because that's actually what got my attention about this story. I saw this story the other day and I thought about doing a video on it, and then I was like, no, I've been talking about politics too much lately. I'm making people mad no matter what I say, even though I'm right in the middle and I don't really care. Like, I'm going to make someone mad. But I came back to it because there was a development that I want to talk about, and I thought, bite the bullet, do the video, talk about this topic. And recently, honestly, one of the reasons I was interested in speaking about this topic was that I don't see reporting about toxic work cultures. Yeah, sure, we've had the Me Too stuff, and I'm not trying to diminish the value of the Me Too stuff at all. God knows. But just in general, stories around toxic workplace culture of employees who come together to say, not enough, we will not put up with this, and fight back when they are treated unfairly, and to have an organization respond to that, I don't see stories like that all that often. And so for me, that's really the crux of why I want to talk about this. What happened and how was it handled? And it just happens to do with politics. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. From the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. An unacceptable and upsetting environment. 2020 Democratic Host Committee under investigation. Now, it looks like this was originally published on the 3rd, and it was just updated on February 4th. 2 top officials overseeing Milwaukee's host committee for the 2020 Democratic National Convention were sidelined Monday amid allegations of a toxic work culture. In a letter to the staff obtained by the Journal-Sentinel, the board said it had retained an attorney to investigate concerns about the work environment for the Milwaukee 2020 host committee. Hold up. If they're retaining an attorney, this is serious. This is like a CYA moment, because attorneys, okay, I'm about to make a broad generalization about attorneys. I'm sure there are wonderful, loving, caring, supportive attorneys out there. But generally, attorneys are interested in one thing: making sure their clients don't get sued. That's it. They're not interested in human emotion. They don't really care how people feel. They're interested in making sure their clients aren't getting sued. So if they're hiring an attorney, this fundamentally tells me that this was a serious issue. They were afraid of legitimately getting sued. And to be afraid of getting sued, something severe has to be going on. I'm going to bet you there was Me Too stuff. I'm going to bet you there was sexual harassment, and it sounds like there was other stuff going on as well, maybe bullying, but bullying is actually not illegal. Workplace bullying, I don't think in any state, is illegal. There has been someone that has been campaigning to make workplace bullying illegal for a long, long time, but I don't think that they've actually had a ton of success with it. It seems to fail every single time. So workplace bullying, fun fact, not illegal. You can bully your employees into the ground. Now, there's a difference between can and should. Obviously, I argue that if you allow workplace bullying to survive in your culture, you are a horrible human being and should not be in any leadership position at all. Not cool. But sexual harassment is illegal. So let's see. And also, just a publicity thing as well. During the investigation, Liz Gilbert, president of the host committee, will not be in the office and will not have direct contact with staff. Ooh, so it's a woman. Okay, another fun fact about women when they're creating a toxic work culture. Women tend to bully other women 80% of the time. So if you have a female bully, most likely they're going to be targeting other women. Now, I did a video, I think a week or two ago, about Amy Klobuchar and all the reasons that I believe she absolutely is a workplace bully. You can go watch that video if you're interested. She has the highest turnover rate in the Senate the entire time she's been there. Her staff have just told horror stories about what it's like to work with her. And the thing of it is that people came out, and I swear I'm not going to rehash the whole video, but people came out and said, she's not a bully, she's just a tough boss. And if she was a man, they wouldn't be talking about her like this. They would call her a tough boss. No. There is a difference between a tough boss and a bully. And to be quite frank, if you're going to play the gender card, I'm going to play the gender card too and say that if you allow women who are workplace bullies to continue with their behavior, chances are they're bullying women. You are hurting other women. Because 80% of the time, that tends to be the case. When men are workplace bullies, 50-50. 50% men, 50% women is their targets. When women are workplace bullies, 80% of the time, they're bullying other women. However, it's not just our gal Liz here who's getting in trouble. Adam Alonso, the chief of staff for the group, has been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the probe. The two were previously come under criticism for continuing to do work for New Jersey Democrats while leading the host committee full-time. The New Jersey Democratic Party dumped Alonso from his $15,000 per month consulting gig late Monday. Both Gilbert and Alonso will be paid as the investigation moves forward. The letter gives no timeline for when the probe will be finished. The abrupt move comes less than 6 months before the start of the Democratic National Convention. I mean, good luck for them, because 6 months is not a long time to fix stuff like this. The host committee, the civic nonpartisan arm of the convention, is responsible for raising $70 million to stage the July event and recruit some 15,000 volunteers. We are committed to an inclusive, non-discriminatory, and supportive work environment at the host committee, and we will work to ensure that all employees live up to those ideals. Joe's, whose last name I'm not going to pronounce because I'm going to butcher it. I'm sorry, Joe. I'm horrible at names. The chief executive of the Democratic National Convention Committee issued a statement acknowledging the seriousness of the allegations. His group, which runs the convention, is separate from the host committee. The Democratic Party is firm in our beliefs that every person deserves to feel safe and respected at their place of work, and we will always take seriously claims of bullying and workplace harassment. He said the claims made by employees of the host committee present an unacceptable and upsetting environment. He added that the host committee board of directors is moving forward with a plan to restore an office culture that aligns with values and expectations of our party. I mean, listen, good luck, man. Good luck. Honestly, you've got to start with, if I were in this position, if I were advising them, they really should hire someone like me, by the way. But if I were advising them, the very first thing that we need to do is start taking care of the emotional needs of the employees. So you've got to bring in people, whether that be a really trusted, like servant leader style person, or, a psychologist like me who can coach them, who can help them work out whatever anger and resentment and trust issues that whatever the situation is created. Because if multiple staff members are coming to you telling you this is a problem, oh boy, are they going to have trust issues. Now, I don't bring up trust issues because we want to delve into their psychology and talk about their childhoods and all that crap. Not crap. I mean, psychology, that stuff's helpful too when you're in therapy. But trust is foundational to a cohesive team culture, right? We talk about trust because it is absolutely foundational to a high-performing, resilient team culture. If you don't have the trust issues sorted out, nothing else is going to matter. They have 6 months to pull off a massive event, and based on what happened in Iowa this week, God knows they could probably use the help. So, I mean, really, they've got to start by taking care of the emotional needs of their employees. I would start by talking to their employees, figuring out their side of it, figuring out what they want the ideal work environment to look like. I might even do a resilient teams assessment with them to kind of really pinpoint what pain issues were specifically caused by this in relation to team cohesion, because team cohesion is going to be absolutely paramount. When stuff like this happens in organizations, not only is it unpleasant on a deeply personal individual level, but it also disrupts the cohesiveness of the team, because if you don't have trust, everything else breaks down around that. So I would start by doing some assessments, taking care of the emotional needs of the team, and seeing how quickly you can form them back together as a cohesive unit to be driving towards their end goal. That's how I would probably handle it. But this is conjecture. I don't know anything more about this case than what's in the news. And conceivably, all these cases with toxic work environments specifically, they're so nuanced to the different things that have happened. They're also nuanced to the different personalities involved. And so those are very, very broad, general recommendations. But I would have to really know the details to be able to put like a concrete stamp on it. But let's see what other details we can find, shall we? Alonso said he was proud of the team he created at the host committee and would cooperate with the investigation. I bet he is. The stunning shakeup came as the journal Sentinel contacted the host committee over concerns about the organization's work environment. Okay, so what that says is, okay, and I bet what happened is the employees for the host committee didn't really know what to do, probably didn't have anyone to turn to, and they ended up, when they couldn't kind of figure it out on their own, and they probably saw that it wasn't going to get better, it was just getting worse and worse and worse, they went to the media. They went to the local newspaper to report this stuff, and then the local newspaper called the campaign committee and was like, or the host committee rather, and was like, what the heck is going on your staff? That's what's being said here. Now, listen, I have worked with more than a few individuals who have tried this in their organizations. News media rarely report this stuff. This is part of why I was so surprised to see this type of story, because I know of many, many cases where people at very large regional organizations would like go to the local paper like the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, or even more local than that, and say, here's what's happening at my organization. I have proof of all this different toxic behavior and nefarious schemes going on. Newspaper does nothing. It's just not reported a lot of the time. And so usually this type of stuff will backfire on people. I actually know people who've gotten fired over pulling that type of stuff. So usually I do not recommend going to the media. If you are in this type of work environment, going to the media is probably not going to work for you. It worked here because of the high profile nature of the organization, but generally speaking, that is not a good idea. In interviews with the Journal Sentinel over the weekend, two experienced political hands who have worked with the host committee describe it as having a toxic culture rife with power struggles, backbiting, and mismanagement. They accuse the top two officials, Gilbert and Alonso, of giving contracts to their friends in New Jersey, calling meetings, and then failing to attend them, and being more focused on accumulating power than promoting Milwaukee. Well, I mean, listen, I don't think these are really the problems. I'm sorry, I don't, because listen, there's nothing, I mean, people hire their friends all the time. That happens in like every organization ever. People call meetings and fail to attend them all the time. That's unpleasant and it's not professional, but it's not necessarily toxic. And focused on more accumulating more power, well, yeah, it's politics. They're all interested in power. That is the game. No one should be surprised by that. So I don't, there's more going on there than that. A New Jersey firm with strong ties to the New Jersey Democratic Party, for instance, developed the website for the host committee and manages its email platform. That's not a crime. I'm sorry. Both Gilbert and Alonso are top-ranking Democratic operatives in that state. That explains more. Coming from New Jersey. I'm sorry anyone from New Jersey. I'm not meaning to stereotype you, but you know what I'm talking about. Come on. These assertions came at the same time that Alonso is being accused in his home state of New Jersey for shaking down campaign contributions for his personal consulting business. Oh my God. That is like the most New Jersey thing. That's like the most New Jersey thing I've ever heard in my life. It's one of the worst, if not the worst, I have worked on, the first official said of the host committee. The second official said they would become sick to their stomach when working with the host committee the first time they experienced a toxic work environment despite working on numerous campaigns. Wow. You know it when you see it, when you feel it, and when you feel it, the second official says, listen, if you're getting physically sick working somewhere, if you think about the word disease, you break down the word disease, what does it mean? Dis-ease. Emotional dis-ease causes disease. If you are stressed out, if you are anxious, if you're constantly frustrated, you're constantly angry, that eventually is going to physically make you sick. It will. And the scary thing about that sort of stuff is that we don't necessarily know how it's going to make you physically sick. You could get a stomach ache, you could get a headache, you could be clenching your teeth, you could, you could get a cold, you could get the flu, you could have a heart attack. Okay, so it really can be all over the place. It depends on how long it's been going on for, how severe it is, what outlets you have, things like that. But if you're getting physically sick, that's like a very big warning sign that you need to do something. And in most cases, they're not, organizations are usually not going to step in and help you. Get the heck out. Get the F out if you're getting physically sick, because it's just not worth it, man. It is a job. It is not worth your health. Ever, ever, ever. Okay, let's keep going because we got some other stuff to go through. Both added they had high hopes for the host committee, but they said the culture at the committee reflects none of that enthusiasm. The spirit of what could be for the city might be lost. I actually feel bad for the city of Milwaukee. I've been to Milwaukee so many times. It's a good city. Like, this is a big opportunity for them. So that makes me kind of sad. The two sources no longer work with the host committee, good for them, which is officially nonpartisan so it can raise money as tax-deductible nonprofit organization. They asked that their names not be used because they feared retribution and work in a specialized field. Word of the alleged problems with the committee reached Mayor Tom Bennett over the weekend. Bennett and U.S. Representative Gwen Moore are co-chairs of the host committee. The mayor fully supports a process to fully investigate the serious concerns that have been put forward, blah, 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 PR. Moore said in a statement, I support the board's immediate remedial actions, believe they are establishing a process that will result in a fair, impartial outcome. I would expect nothing less, PR. The 5-member committee moved quickly Monday to look into the matter. Concerns raised at the host committee come less than a week after Alonzo found himself in the middle of another controversy in his home state of New Jersey. Julie, I don't know how to pronounce that, a former strategist for New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, said Murphy's gubernatorial campaign was toxic. Holy crap, we gotta look at that. And she experienced rank misogyny. Furthermore, she said lobbyists during the 2018 convention that Alonzo and the campaign manager were pressing lobbyists for private business. Alonzo owns a consulting firm, blah, blah, blah. Alonzo denies the allegations. The allegations are false. I don't know if we're going to keep reading this. This basically just looks like there's corruption involved. And frankly, like, I'm sorry, people from New Jersey, but, like, come on, man. Listen, my husband's from Ukraine. I make fun of him all the time for Ukraine being corrupt, and it is corrupt. But New Jersey's got some issues. Please. And just I'm scanning this really quickly to make sure there's some other stuff on here, but it's really not relevant to this story. Now, another thing that I found fascinating about this and why I actually wanted to talk about is not that one. That's not the one I'm looking for. Look at this. Leaders of Milwaukee 2020 DNC host committee fired over allegations of a toxic work environment. And listen, 2 days. 2 days. Actually, not quite 2 days. It was a little bit more than that because maybe we should start here. We should start with the letter that the staff sent to the board of directors, okay? So this letter was sent on January 30th. Remember, the story that we just read, first published on February 3rd, updated on February 4th. This letter was sent on January 30th. Dear Milwaukee 2020 Board of Directors, we write to inform you of our experiences with the President and Chief of Staff of Milwaukee 2020 with the hope that an unwavering change will be made. There is not an HR department for us to turn to, and therefore we understand that all principal decisions are made at the hands of the board. Come on, man. You always have to give someone a contact for that stuff. Like, even just outsource it. This isn't... There are so many like places you can outsource HR stuff to. Why not do it? It just makes no sense. Adam Alonzo has consistently bullied and intimidated staff members. But of note is that this primarily is directed at the women on the staff. I told you this was a Me Too thing. Resulting in a culture that coddles male senior advisors and consultants who have no clear role or clear lines of mismanagement. His mismanagement of the host committee, enabled by Liz Gilbert, has created a toxic and unstable work environment that we will not allow to continue. The office culture is toxic and singular to Adam and Liz, which discourages honest feedback and discourse. This has significantly impacted staff morale, resulting in a fear of retribution and lack of trust among not only senior but junior staff as well. Since November, complaints of this nature were brought to the attention of Liz Gilbert, who has gone on to defend him. Our challenges have been entirely dismissed. To date, one of us has decided to leave the organization, and several junior women have approached us, distraught and fearful, not knowing where to turn. Please reach out if you need anything. Thanks in advance for reading. Warmly, senior women of the host committee. So, what did I say when we were reading that article? And listen, I actually don't read this stuff ahead of time because I kind of like to discover it as we're doing these videos. So I did not read the full content of this letter. I just kind of found the file and put it aside. But what did I say when we were reading the article? Had to do with Me Too. had to do with something related to sexual harassment, which it's clear that this was being directed at women. And so maybe not like a full-on Me Too sexual harassment thing, but it was definitely like, you have the evil male and then you have this group of women who is, being harassed and bullied by him. Now, what's really interesting is it seems like their president, or Liz Gilbert, was just enabling all this stuff. So they went to her to complain. She didn't do anything. I wonder why that is. Let me just take a look at her picture again. Yeah, I mean, they're friends. I bet you they know each other. I mean, they've obviously like worked together in New Jersey, so they're kind of like buddies. And it seems like, and I'm offering an opinion here based on my experience. I'm not making any claims that this might actually be true, but I bet you they know each other. They're friendly. They came from the same place. They, have that camaraderie built up. They probably didn't know many people that were on the staff that they were leading, and so they're going to trust each other over what those people are saying. I also think politics is like a harsh thing to work in, and so the expectations might be a little different. And there's certainly going to be different expectations for treatment in places like New Jersey than in Milwaukee. Completely different cultural thing. But I would be fascinated to learn more about what happened. Maybe more news will come out. But I do want to give the main reason I wanted to do this story. Oh, no, that doesn't look like it's related to this. We aren't going to look at those other files. Okay, the main reason I wanted to do this story was the speed at which the committee responded, because this is actually something I am super duper impressed by. Like, bravo. I'm not being facetious. Bravo to the people in charge of this. Because look at this. January 30th, they got this letter. This article came out on the 3rd, so I'm betting this stuff happened around the same time. Those two were fired on the 5th. We have less than a week between the time of the reporting to the time where they took action. And they did a whole investigation in that week, and they took swift action. I have to say, I am super impressed with that turnaround. That does not happen that quickly usually, and usually doesn't result in swift action like that. So bravo to the committee, the people who made that decision. You did exactly the right thing based on what I've seen in this. Let's see. The two leaders of Milwaukee's host committee for the 2020 Democratic National Convention have been fired amidst allegations they oversaw a toxic work environment. The committee's board of directors released a statement Tuesday night saying every employee has a right to feel respected in their workplace. Based on the information we learned to date, we believe that the work environment did not meet the ideals and expectations of the Milwaukee 2020 Host Committee Board of Directors. Accordingly, Liz Gilbert and Adam Alonso are no longer employed by the organization effective immediately. Bravo, Board of Directors. According to the statement, members of the board, which is a civic-minded oversight board, were first made aware of the allegations Saturday through a letter dated January 30th, which we just read. The board claims that they had started looking into the concerns immediately Saturday. They worked over the weekend for this, man. Good for them. The board sought out legal counsel this week to evaluate and investigate the allegations and report their findings. The dramatic shakeup Tuesday evening comes less than 6 months before the Democrats swing into the state to choose their presidential nominee, blah, blah, blah. The firings came a day after Gilbert and Alonso were placed on leave pending the investigation, so something big was going on if they did it that quickly. According to a written statement from the board, the investigation is ongoing to ensure an inclusive and supportive work environment. Teresa Villman, an organizer, political consultant, and advisor with the committee, will be managing the operations for the committee through a transition of finding new leadership. I am always wary anytime there's a political consultant involved. Again, like, politics is a really harsh game. These people, they do not pull punches, and so anytime there's a political consultant involved, particularly when you're talking about people that you're talking about relating it to people who have been through the trauma of a toxic work environment, I'm not sure that's the best choice, but I'm sure, listen, they move so fast, I can't even fault them for that. You know what? Listen, I take that back. I can't even fault them for that because they move so quickly. I'm so impressed with that I think that that's probably what the best they could do at that moment for the team. For this success to continue, the host committee's office culture must reflect the host committee's values, the board said in a statement. The board will continue to take appropriate action to ensure that this commitment is met and maintained moving forward. I just want to take, oh God, there's a big ad on this page. Okay, former Murphy aide details misogynistic behavior on campaign. This is a separate story. When is this from? This is from January 26th. Okay, so this is that separate story of also a toxic work environment. I might do a separate one on this, but I think, I'm not going to do it on this video. I think what I wanted to say is, listen, kudos. Kudos to this board for taking these allegations seriously. Now, granted, maybe they got pushed into a corner a little bit. The staff went to the media. They're obviously writing about it. The journalists were obviously interested because it was the journalists who called the board and was like, what the what? But I don't want to focus on that. I don't want to focus on the fact that maybe the board had some idea what was going on, but didn't know the severity of it. They got pushed into the corner by the media. Let's celebrate the fact that they came to the party because it was pretty quick. Once they heard from the media, they hired a lawyer, they did an investigation, they got the 2 problem people out. Now, my fingers crossed for this staff, honestly. My fingers crossed that these 2 are the only problem people. Because when these environments develop, what happens is people who are bullied, people who are in toxic organizations, they take on the characteristics of their leadership. And they do this even subconsciously without thinking about it. And because it seems like these 2 were such a big problem for the organization, I'm going to bet you that they became a focal point, but they may not be the only problem they have to solve. I really hope, I guess what I'm trying to say is my fear for this team is that I hope that they do not think that just because they fired these 2, the problem is over. And like, okay, we're done. Time to go home. Everyone back to work. We have a convention. I really hope they don't do that. I really hope they take this seriously. I hope they bring in people to help their staff kind of recover from this. And I hope they do the right thing. It seems as though they do have good intentions, though. This was an incredibly quick turnaround, and I have to praise them for that. And I really hope that they continue to do the right thing.